There is a version of you that they will never be able to reach again, and somewhere in the back of their mind they already know this. They have not said it out loud. They may never say it out loud, but there is a sensation that has begun to settle into their daily life, something they cannot name, something they keep trying to outrun, and it follows them into every new conversation, every new face, every new attempt to feel something close to what you gave them. Before I continue, I want you to do something for yourself right now. If this is the first time you are hearing this voice, if something in these first few words made your chest tighten or your breath slow down, I want you to subscribe to this channel, not because I am asking you to, but because something in you recognized the truth just now, and that recognition is worth protecting. Subscribe because you are building a place to return to when the world gets loud and your clarity starts to slip. That is what this channel is, a place where your sanity is reinforced, not questioned. Now let me take you further into this. You were not just a person in their life, you were a particular experience of being known. And that is something most people go their entire lives without offering another human being. You did not just show up. You showed up with attention that was specific, with a quality of listening that made them feel like the most important person in any room, with a patience that absorbed their chaos and still somehow offered them peace. And the thing about that kind of presence is that it does not announce itself. It does not say, look at how much I am giving you. It simply gives quietly, relentlessly, without scorekeeping, without performance. And because it was so quiet, they mistook it for something ordinary. They mistook your steadiness for a lack of options. They mistook your forgiveness for a lack of boundaries. They mistook your depth for simplicity. And that miscalculation is the one they will spend years trying to undo. Let me be very precise about what happens inside the mind of someone who has left a person like you. In the beginning, there is relief. I want you to understand that. In the beginning, they feel lighter because your presence carried a kind of moral weight. When someone is deeply attuned and emotionally honest, they become a mirror, and not everyone wants to see themselves that clearly. So when you are gone, the mirror is gone, and for a while they feel free. They interpret that freedom as confirmation that leaving was the right choice. They move quickly, they laugh louder, they fill the space with noise and novelty, and they tell themselves a story that sounds like growth but is actually escape. You need to understand this stage because it is the one that nearly destroys the person who was left behind. You see them moving on and you think it meant nothing. You see them smiling in photographs and you think you were replaceable. But what you are actually witnessing is the anesthetic phase. It is not joy, it is numbness that has not yet worn off, and numbness always wears off. The second phase is where the real work begins inside them, though they will not call it work. They will call it restlessness. They will call it boredom. They will say they are just not feeling it lately. What is actually happening is that the emotional architecture you built inside them is beginning to assert itself in your absence. You see, when you loved someone with that level of consistency, you did not just give them affection. You trained their nervous system to expect safety. You became the baseline against which every future experience is measured. And once that baseline is established, it does not disappear when you do. It lingers. It becomes the standard that nothing else meets. Every new person they sit across from will be auditioned against a version of you that they have not yet consciously acknowledged they miss. The conversation will be fine, but it will lack texture. The laughter will happen, but it will not land in the same place. The attraction may be there, but it will feel thin, like color without depth, and they will not understand why, not yet. There is a phenomenon that is rarely spoken about in direct terms, but I want to name it here because you deserve the language for it. It is called emotional replacement fantasy, and it is the engine that drives someone to believe they can simply swap one person for another and retain the same internal experience. It is the belief that what they felt with you was a product of circumstances rather than a product of who you are. And it is one of the most painful beliefs a person can hold because reality dismantles it slowly, thoroughly, and without mercy. Every new connection they attempt becomes an experiment that fails in ways they cannot articulate. They will find people who are more exciting, more available, more agreeable, more convenient. But convenience is not what their nervous system is looking for. Their nervous system is looking for you. It is looking for the specific way you paused before you responded, the way you remembered details that no one else noticed, the way your silence was not empty but full. The way conflict with you, even when it was difficult, still felt fundamentally safe. These are not transferable qualities. These are not features that can be listed on a profile or replicated through effort. These are the fingerprints of a particular human being, and they are gone now. You are gone now. And that absence is going to grow louder with every month that passes. I want to talk to you now about something you may not have given yourself permission to feel. You are allowed to know that you were extraordinary in that relationship. Not perfect. Extraordinary. There is a difference. Perfection is a performance. What you offered was presence, and presence is rarer than most people will ever understand. You did not just love them. You created an environment in which they could be their most honest self without punishment. Do you understand how few people in this world are capable of building that for another person? Do you understand what it costs you internally to hold that space day after day while your own needs were deferred, minimized, or outright ignored? You were not weak for staying as long as you did. You were operating from a depth of emotional investment that most people will never access. And leaving or being left does not erase the magnitude of what you carried. Now here is where I need your attention to sharpen, because this is the part most people miss. The regret that is coming for them is not going to arrive the way you imagine it. It is not going to be a dramatic moment of collapse. It is not going to be a late-night message filled with apologies. It may never take a form you can see or touch, but it is real, and it is already in motion. Regret in its truest psychological form is not a single event. It is a slow restructuring of perception. It is what happens when the mind over time begins to revise the story it told itself. At first, the story was clean. They left because they needed to. You were too much or not enough, or the timing was wrong, or the feeling had changed. But as time passes and the new chapters they write keep failing to match the depth of the one they closed, the story stops making sense. The plot holes become visible, the justifications start to feel thin, and that is when the rewriting begins. They will not come to you with this. They will sit with it alone, in the early morning hours, in the space between waking and sleeping, in the passenger seat of someone else's car, in the middle of a conversation that should feel intimate, but feels like reading from a script. That is where the regret lives, in the gap between what they have and what they had. If you are still listening to this, I want you to take a breath. A real one. Not the shallow survival breath you have been running on for weeks or months. A full breath that reaches the bottom of your lungs and reminds your body that you are still here, because you are still here, and you are not diminished. You may feel smaller than you did before. You may feel like something essential was taken from you. But what I want you to understand, with the full weight of clinical certainty, is that nothing was taken. Something was revealed. What was revealed is that you have a capacity for love that is structurally incompatible with someone who cannot meet it. That is not a flaw. That is information. And it is the most valuable information you will ever receive about yourself. This is the moment where I want to invite you to do something if you have not already. Subscribe to this channel. I am not saying this to build a number. I am saying this because what is happening inside you right now as you listen is not an accident. You found this because something in you is ready to stop abandoning yourself the way they abandoned you. Subscribing is not a passive act right now. It is a decision. It is you telling yourself that your clarity matters, that your healing is not negotiable, and that you will keep showing up for the version of you that is emerging from this. Press subscribe, and then stay with me. We are not done. Let me describe what is happening to you right now in neurological terms that might help you trust what you are feeling. When you were in that relationship, your brain formed deep associative pathways around safety, connection, and identity. These pathways do not dissolve because someone chose to leave. They persist. And when the source of that connection is removed, the brain enters a state of searching. It scans the environment for the missing signal. It replays memories not out of weakness but out of neurological habit. It floods you with longing not because you are broken but because you are wired to seek the bond that was disrupted. What you are experiencing is not pathology. It is proof that you attach deeply and authentically to another human being, and the discomfort you feel is not a sign that you need them back. It is a sign that your system is recalibrating. It is learning to source from within what it used to source from them. And that transition, while painful, is one of the most important psychological shifts a human being can make. Now let me turn the lens back to them because I want you to see something clearly. The person who left you, or the person who made it impossible for you to stay, is now living inside a structure they do not fully understand. On the surface, it may look functional, it may even look improved, but underneath, there is a growing deficit they cannot fill. You were not just a partner. You were a regulatory presence. You were the person who brought their emotional temperature back to baseline when it spiked. You were the person who made ordinary moments feel sufficient. You were the one who made them feel chosen, not because you said it, but because your behavior proved it every single day. And now that regulating presence is gone, what they are left with is themselves. And for some people, being left with themselves is the most disorienting experience they will ever face. This is why they seek stimulation. This is why they move fast. This is why the next person appears so quickly it makes you feel like you were nothing. But speed is not a sign of healing. Speed is a sign of avoidance. The faster they move, the more they are running from the very thing they should be sitting with. And what they should be sitting with is the weight of what they walked away from. They should be sitting with the fact that someone looked at them, saw every fractured and unfinished part of them, and chose to stay anyway. They should be sitting with the fact that kind of loyalty is not renewable. It is not waiting in the next room. It is not available on demand. It was yours to give, and you gave it, and they did not hold it with the reverence it deserved. I need to tell you something about the timeline of regret because your mind is going to want to rush this. You are going to want evidence now. You are going to want proof that they feel it, that they see it, that the loss has registered. But regret does not operate on your schedule. It operates on the schedule of lived experience. It requires contrast. It requires enough failed attempts at replication for the original to become unmistakable. Some people arrive at this recognition in months. Some take years. Some carry it quietly for the rest of their lives without ever speaking it. But it comes. It always comes. Because the human mind cannot permanently suppress the knowledge of what was real. It can delay it. It can distort it. It can bury it under layers of rationalization and bravado. But reality is patient. And reality always wins. What I want for you is not revenge. Revenge is a distraction dressed up as justice. What I want for you is something far more powerful. I want you to arrive at a place of such internal clarity that their regret becomes irrelevant to your peace. I want you to reach the point where you can hold two truths simultaneously. The first truth is that you were the best thing they ever had. Not because you are perfect, but because you were present, consistent, honest, and willing to fight for something real. The second truth is that their recognition of this, whenever and however it arrives, is not something you need in order to move forward. You can know your own value without requiring their agreement. You can understand what you gave without needing them to catalog it. You can grieve the loss without needing them to share the grief. This is not coldness. This is the highest form of emotional maturity. It is the ability to validate yourself from the inside out without external confirmation, without applause, without a single word from the person who should have said everything. And here is what is quietly remarkable about where you are right now. You are listening to this. You are still here. You did not shut down. You did not go numb. You did not become what they perhaps expected you to become, which is smaller, quieter, more manageable, more forgettable. You are doing the opposite. You are turning toward the pain with open eyes. You are seeking language for what happened to you. You are refusing to let the narrative be written by the person who left the story. And that refusal is not defiance, it is dignity. Let me tell you what happens next, not to them, but to you. There will come a morning, and I cannot tell you which one, when you wake up and the first thought in your mind is not about them. It will not be a dramatic moment. You will not notice it at first, but by the afternoon you will realize that something has shifted. The weight will still be there, but it will have moved. It will no longer be on your chest. It will be behind you, like something you are carrying in a pack rather than something that is pressing you into the ground. And then a few days later, it will happen again. And then a week will pass where you laugh at something and the laugh belongs entirely to you. It is not a laugh you are performing to prove you are fine. It is a laugh that comes from a body that is beginning to trust itself again. This is what healing actually looks like. Not the absence of pain, but the redistribution of it. Not forgetting, but contextualizing. Not moving on, but moving into a version of yourself that is informed by the loss without being imprisoned by it. And while this is happening inside you, something very different is happening inside them. Because while you are expanding, they are encountering limitation. While you are integrating the experience and extracting wisdom from it, they are repeating patterns and wondering why the result keeps being the same. They will date someone who is easier but less meaningful. They will find companionship that is comfortable but not catalytic. They will build a life that looks complete from the outside but has a hollow center that echoes when they are alone at night. And in that echo, they will hear your name. Not literally, but in the way the mind recalls what the body has not forgotten. They will feel the absence of your specific warmth, the absence of your particular way of making the mundane feel sacred, the absence of someone who did not just love them but understood them, which is a far more intimate act than love alone. You need to know this, not so you can wait for them, not so you can hope for their return. You need to know this so that you can release the false narrative that you were not enough. You were more than enough. You were so far beyond enough that they could not metabolize it. Some people are not equipped to receive the kind of love you offer, not because it is flawed, but because it asks something of them they are not yet willing to give, which is honesty, reciprocity, and the vulnerability required to be truly seen. Your love asked them to show up as themselves and they were not ready. That is not your failure. That is their limitation. And it is a limitation that will follow them into every room they enter until they choose to confront it. Now, I want to say something to you that you may need to hear more than anything else in this entire conversation. You do not owe them your suffering. You do not owe them the performance of being devastated. You do not owe them sleepless nights or obsessive analysis or the slow erosion of your identity in their absence. You owe yourself the same quality of attention you gave to them. Turn that attention inward now. Look at yourself with the same generous, patient, unflinching gaze you offered them and ask yourself what you see. Because I can tell you what I see from here. I see someone who loved with an integrity that most people will never be brave enough to attempt. I see someone whose pain right now is not a sign of weakness, but a measure of how deeply they are capable of investing in another human being. I see someone who is not broken, but is in the process of becoming something that will be unrecognizable to the person who left. And that unrecognizability is not transformation for the sake of spite. It is the natural result of someone who finally redirects their enormous capacity for care toward the one person who has been neglected this entire time, which is you. Before I bring this to a close, I want you to do one more thing. If you have stayed with me this long, if these words have settled into the places where the hurt has been living, then subscribe to this channel. Not as a gesture, but as a commitment to returning to this space whenever the doubt creeps back in, whenever you start to wonder if you imagined how good you were to them, whenever the loneliness tries to rewrite history and convince you that going back is the same as going home. It is not. Going back is not going home. Going inward is going home, and this channel is one of the doors. Subscribe and keep walking through it every time you need to remember who you are. The truth is going to continue to unfold for both of you in the months ahead. For them, it will unfold as a series of quiet disappointments, moments where they reach for a feeling that is no longer available, moments where they compare without meaning to, moments where the new person does something kind and they feel nothing, because kindness without depth is just politeness. For you, it will unfold differently. It will unfold as a slow, irreversible recognition of your own value, not arrogance, not superiority, just clarity. The kind of clarity that comes from having been through something that tried to convince you that you were less than what you are and failing. You did not become less. You became distilled. Everything unnecessary burned away. And what is left is someone who knows without question what they bring to the table. And that knowing is quiet. It does not need to announce itself. It does not need validation. It does not need them to come back on their knees with a speech about how wrong they were. It simply exists inside you, steady, unshakable, permanent. And somewhere, maybe tonight, maybe 3 months from now, maybe in a year, when they are sitting in a room that is full of people and still somehow empty, they are going to feel it. They are going to feel the full, undeniable weight of what they lost. And in that moment, for just a second, the mask will slip. The story they told themselves will crack. And they will know. They will know that you were the best thing they ever had. They will know that they will not find it again. And they will have to sit with that knowledge the same way you sat with the silence they left behind, except you had the courage to face yours. Whether they have that same courage remains to be